Hello everyone, and welcome to our program previewing the 2012 session of the Missouri General Assembly. And joining us is MSBA's Associate Executive Director for Advocacy, Mike Reid, our Chief Lobbyist. And Mike, thanks a lot for being with us.
It's always a pleasure. It's a little hard to realize they're coming back so soon, but we're gearing up and getting ready to go.
That's right. They just finished a special session, so they'll be right back to work.
They just did finish, yes.
Well, Mike, what are some of the major education issues that you see coming up for the session beginning in January?
Well, of course, the most important, I think, for everyone will be the budget, as it always is. And people complain that all you all talk about is money, but in fact, it is extremely important for school districts is the amount of money that they receive from the state. And while the revenue has been slightly better in the state of Missouri for the last couple of quarters, still not enough to fill the holes and plug the holes that are going to be there. And so we are going to be hopefully flat again. That's a big hope. Otherwise, we may take a cut in funding this year because it is, again, one of these things that we've supplanted federal money in the past. That federal money will not be there, so we're going to have to find some extra money in the state budget.
So flat funding for the formula, Mike, is that the best case scenario, do you think?
The best case scenario is flat funding for the formula, yes.
All right, another issue, Mike, is charter schools. That's been with us for several years now. There have been some bills to expand charter schools beyond St. Louis and Kansas City. Are we going to see that again?
We're going to see that again. We're going to see a big push to expand charter schools outside of Kansas City and St. Louis, specifically in unaccredited and provisionally accredited districts. The Charter School Association has put on a full court press, as they say, and we will see that expansion again. That bill got through the House and died in the Senate, but there are a number of people in the Senate who will be running for statewide office who will be pushing for that piece of legislation. So that bill will be out there. It's very important that our members understand the expansion of charter schools and what that can and cannot do to their districts and how it affects the students in their districts.
Now, Mike, the State Board of Education has been talking about increased accountability for some of the charter schools because, frankly, their performance has been mixed at best in the two cities. Could that be tied with the expansion?
That probably will be tied, and it was tied last year to the expansion, is to have greater accountability for charter schools and charter schools to be accountable just like all other public schools. So I believe if we can get more accountability, we will see the expansion happen.
Another issue, Mike, that I know is going to come up, it has to do with unaccredited school districts and the ability of students to transfer out of those districts to neighboring districts. That's been an issue, of course, in the St. Louis area, and now it's become an issue in Kansas City and could even go beyond that. So what are we going to see on that?
Yes, that is. And we call that the Turner fix. That's there's a case, the Turner case that came out of St. Louis concerning children moving from an unaccredited district to an accredited district and who is responsible to pay and what rights do those children have to go to what schools. That's taken on, again, new impetus because of the fact of Kansas City becoming unaccredited and the number of districts that are affected with where those children could go. So I think what we will see are a number of pieces of legislation. The legislation that we have supported states that neighboring districts to an unaccredited districts shall send the unaccredited district the number of seats that are available in that district for students to transfer. And the transferring district, the unaccredited district, shall pay on a timely basis the cost of that education. That will be there. That will be a part of the fix. But the people who are pushing this are also for expanding charter schools as well as having public money be given to students to go to private schools. Now, they cannot go to private religious schools, but other private institutions, there's a big push to do that. So we're going to see that. What I really see, and there's a large discussion right now, and there was last year, is that the Turner fix will be tied to changes in the school foundation formula. Not the funding side, but just other changes in the foundation formula. So it's going to be really important. This is what we call hardball politics, and districts, a number of districts will be affected, not only districts that are next to unaccredited districts, but all districts because we're talking about the changes in the formula.
So we could see some Turner fix legislation, Mike, from our perspective, that might be acceptable, but there might be some legislation along the same line that might have some provisions we really are concerned about.
That is correct. There may be, we might like most of the Turner fix, but there may be something on there that's a poison pill that we cannot accept.
Another situation that we have, Mike, of course, is 2012 being an election year. That always affects the dynamics of what's going on in the legislature. How do you see that playing out this year?
Oh, it's a big situation because people will be playing for the home folks, as they say. Also, the fact that this year there will be new districts drawn. So while we don't know exactly what the districts will look like, some incumbents may be in districts where there may be more than one incumbent. So there's a big change there. A number of people in the Senate are running for statewide office. So they're going to be playing to their base to get the nomination. Then they have to run back to the Senate to get more votes. It's going to be a lot of interesting situations and a lot of statements made that everyone is in favor of education. It's just how much in favor of education are they?
I guess the conventional wisdom is, Mike, in most election years, it's more difficult for legislation to move because of the election year politics.
That is true. That is true. It is much more difficult because people do have to take votes, and those votes can come back to haunt them. So sometimes they want to talk about a lot of things, but not vote on them. So it is much more difficult to get things moving.
Now, Mike, we have something called the Missouri Public Education Vision Project. MSBA has developed, along with the Missouri Association of School Administrators, and school boards and administrators worked on this for more than a year, outlining an agenda for public education in the state. How will that integrate into our legislative platform?
Well, the Vision Project dovetails into our legislative platform, and for an awful long period of time, legislators have said, you all are always against something. You're telling us to vote no, but you're never telling us what you're for. I disagree with that statement, but this is a whole situation of saying, here are a number of things that we're for and that will help students in the state of Missouri and advance public education in this state. So what we're doing is we're working with the statements in the Vision Project and working with our resolutions to make sure that people understand here is how they all fit together. And we're giving and making a copy of the Vision Project to each one of the reps and the senators and making sure they understand that these are platforms and statements that will help students. Mm-hmm.
Mike, given all the issues that we are facing in Jefferson City, we're becoming even more aggressive in our grassroots lobbying efforts in Jefferson City with our members throughout the state. Tell us about that.
Well, we have our Members Center, which we have developed in our office in Jefferson City. It is a place for people to come, boards to come and meet with their representative or their senator away from the Capitol, away from the crowdedness in the Capitol, so you can have some private one-on-one conversations. This is a place that we will be using for our S-band visits, and we encourage every school board to come down during the session, during the several months of the session, so they can meet with their representatives and senators. It's vitally important that representatives and senators, our elected officials, know how other elected officials feel about various subjects and how these subjects that they're discussing in the General Assembly affect the students in the state of Missouri.
You mentioned S-band, Mike, the School Board Advocacy Network, and we have actually a calendar and specific days for people to visit Jefferson City, don't we?
Yes, we do. We have a calendar and specific days, and the days will, the situation will, they'll come down to Jefferson City. We'll have a meeting with them ahead of time, discussing what bills may be discussed that day or what other hearings will be, and then have them go over to the Capitol, talk to their representatives and senators. We'll give them talking points on various pieces of legislation, but also it's just very important for them to discuss matters and how they, what's going on in the districts, financial matters to transfer matters to whatever. And so it's extremely important that people take part in the S-band situation. Again, it's legislator to legislator. It's elected official to elected official discussing problems and how to resolve those problems.
All right, Mike Reid, session begins in January. You have a busy few months ahead of you, and busy few months for also school board members and administrators around the state with advocacy work. And we'll be keeping them informed on these issues, won't we?
Yes, we will. We'll have our Friday morning chats every Friday morning discussing what has happened during this session. We also have a blog that is up every day on what will be happening and what people should be aware of. We'll have e-blasts and always, as always, if people have questions, call us. we're more than happy to discuss where we are, where our stance is, what the resolution has, where does MSBA stand, and how does it affect children.
All right. Mike Reid, thanks a lot for being with us.
Thank you.
Great. Excellent. Just what we need.